this video, I'm going to show you how to take this $1 motion detector and add it to this cheap Harbor Freight light fixture. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel, Duct Tape Mechanic, for more DIY and tinkering videos. I'm often tinkering with Harbor Freight stuff because, let's face it, they often need it, and because it's fun too. So this is the LED light strip that I picked up from Harbor Freight for $7 or $8. It's got a really basic design. It's got a power switch with 12 LED lights grouped up in 4 clusters. It says that it's ideal for mounting in cabinets and closets, but a problem that's presented is that if you mount this in a high place, it's going to be difficult to reach the power switch. That's why I'll be showing you how to add a motion detector in this video, so you can use this light without having to reach all the way up there. For this modification, you'll need a HC-SR501 PIR motion sensor. These sensors can be picked up at on eBay for about $1. They have a fairly wide operating range with anywhere between 4 to 12 volts should work. So you should be able to do this modification on any sort of DC LED light. It doesn't have to be just this particular one from Harbor Freight. The next thing you'll need is a transistor. Here I'll be using a BD139 transistor. This particular one has a current rating of 1.5 amps, so it should be more than enough for our application. I've went ahead and labeled the emitter, collector, and the base as if the transistor was facing you. And then finally you'll also need a 1 kilo ohm resistor. The first step is to disassemble the light. It's pretty simple, just a bunch of screws. You will need to remove the adhesive pad on both ends of the light to access the hidden screws. Then go ahead and cut the red wire that goes from the positive terminal of the battery pack to the input of the switch. Then connect the red wire that comes from the battery pack to the collector of the transistor. Connect the other end of the red wire that you cut to the emitter pin of the transistor. I had to flip this around to get a better angle. Next, connect a 1 kilo ohm resistor to the base of the transistor. Next, I wired up the PIR motion sensor. I put a black jumper wire on the ground pin, a white on the output, and a red on the input pin. Unfortunately, the PCB isn't labeled, so the only way you'll be able to figure out which pin corresponds to which wire is using the data sheet, or you could just freeze this video and use that as a reference. It really helps to have these little female jumper wires. If you're familiar with Arduino or Raspberry Pi, you probably have them around. If not, you just have to practice your soldering skills. Next, solder the white wire that comes from the output of the motion sensor to the 1 kilo ohm resistor. Next, connect the red wire coming from the motion detector with the remaining red wires at the positive terminal of the battery. Next, connect the black wire coming from the motion detector to the negative terminal of the battery, and that essentially completes all the wiring of the modification. After all the electrical has been completed, it's just about getting all the components into the case of the light. I had to cut out a section of the light fixture to mount the sensor. Then after that, I just glued down the transistor and did some wire management to get this thing to close. Don't worry too much about how the wires look on the backside because it's going to be mounted up against surface anyways, and it'll be covered. This is also a good time to adjust the sensitivity and the duration that the light will turn on. This can be done by turning the orange potentiometers or the orange knobs on the sensor. The way that this works is that when the motion detector detects motion, it sends 3.7 volts to the output pin. After this current goes through the 1 kilo ohm resistor, it goes to the base of the transistor, effectively turning it on. When this happens, current goes from the collector of the transistor to the emitter, effectively completing the circuit of the light and turning it on. Alright, as you can see, it works fairly well. Let me know of any other Harbor Freight products you'd like for me to modify in the comment section of this video.